weird too, because when I made a decision just this year in January, that's when I kicked off my website ready and all that good stuff. I was thinking fractional work. I was not thinking about a book. I was not thinking about
Mm.
speaking. Coaching wasn't going to be a pillar. It was going to be something I offered on the side. So where I am now, almost a year later, it's a complete
Yeah.
about face.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, and even $100,000 weeks. Before Purple Circle, I've grown several 7- and 8-figure career coaching businesses myself, and have been a consultant at 2 career coaching businesses that are doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or building your practice for the first time, you'll discover the secrets to elevating your coaching business.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets Podcast. I'm Pedro, and today's guest is Sheryl Whitaker, a leadership strategist, executive coach, and founder and CEO of Eden Anthony Elite Talent Solutions. With nearly 2 decades of experience inside Fortune 100 and 500 companies, she helps leaders move beyond performance and into real leadership, the kind that strengthens teams, reduces burnout, and brings clarity when the stakes are high. Now, she works with ambitious leaders and their teams to rebuild trust, sharpen effectiveness, and lead with the presence instead of pressure. Her approach blends depth, honesty, and her signature philosophy, joy as strategy, a framework that keeps leaders grounded and powerful. She also serves as a curator and board member for TEDx Southlake. Welcome to the show, Sheryl.
Thank you so much, Pedro. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, I'm super excited to talk with you, Sheryl, too. So, all right, let's rewind a bit, okay? Like the origin
Okay.
story. So every
Okay.
coach has that moment where they look at their life and say, you know what? I guess this is what I'm doing now. So when was that for you?
Oh, well, in a positive way, I'd say that took place, it'll be almost 2 years ago, coming up this coming April, when I separated from my last organization. I've spent many, many years on the corporate side, and I really honestly thought that was where I was going to stay, retire, and, go off into the sunset and all that kind of stuff. But honestly, Pedro, when I made a decision to not shrink and to make sure my voice was heard, I had to really think about it and be like, okay, what is coming next for me? And quite honestly, it really wasn't coaching for me at first. I thought
Mm,
that I was going to start my own business and I was going to do what I did for other organizations, but just do it fractionally. I was an enterprise learning leader. And I decided to get certified in coaching as sort of like, you want fries with that? You know what I mean? Like, hey, put something on the side there. And then I remembered how much I love coaching, and doing on the outside is a lot different than the inside. So yeah, so that was a big aha moment for me, just leaving corporate and then figuring out what was going to be next and then landing up in coaching.
I like that. The fact that you want to make sure your voice was heard. That's very impactful.
Yes.
That's really interesting. And when did it shift from, I'm helping people to I'm building a real business around this? That shift that we see coaches going through.
Yeah, that shift happened for me pretty quickly after I made a decision that I was going to do my own business. And then maybe after my first couple of clients, realizing the difference between coaching on the outside versus on the inside. Like when you're on the inside, yes, we coach, but at the same time, you're still being supported by the organization, right? And of course, as coaches, we, some, clients have sponsors and that kind of thing, but it's still like really different. And not being tethered to an organization, just I find like the clients are just kind of like they just open up, and it becomes a lot of times for us so much more than what we originally, signed up for. And that's when it clicked for me, like, ooh, this is a real opportunity to have a significant impact and to really, really help people through the power of coaching.
So you got that business out of the way, and let's talk feelings. Let's talk what actually is holding you back, right? So
Yep.
that shift was something in a way kind of sparked your interest. Is that it?
Yeah, well, it more than sparked my interest. It helped me realize that I had an opportunity to really, really help people, because that's why I got into learning and development in the first place. That's why I spent most of my career, because I loved watching those light bulbs go off. You see the lights light up, and I wanted that same thing. Just wasn't expecting to get it from coaching, and it's the same feeling. I love it. Helping people.
Okay, yeah. So after you got rolling, right, who are the people that kept showing up? The ones you realized, okay, these guys, this is my crew, these are my people.
Oh, my people, the ones who want what we all want, which is to have more joy. So, leaders who are just performing and just going out there and it's a grind. I mean, gosh, I was one of them. And you sit down one day and you realize, like, what am I doing? I don't even love my work. I'm not even sure if I love the people. And if you don't love the people, then you really need to seriously wonder whether or not you belong in leadership in the first place. And so, my people are those who are either looking for joy, they never had it, they had it and they
Mm-hmm.
lost it. And I even love those, I call them just the skeptics, the ones who are like, what's this whole joy thing about in the leadership sense? And then watching again the aha moments happen as they change their perspective. And then you change your perspective, changes the way they see the world and how they see their leadership. So, and it doesn't matter. I mean, I tend to work with mostly senior executives, but I mean, I work with high school students, I work with, folks who are thinking about leadership, those who are new to leadership. It really runs the whole gamut for me because we're all people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Having this experience.
Right. I mean, that's super interesting, especially the joy, the way you put it, joy. That's in a way it's simple, but at the same time so complex, and people often forget to ask themselves, hey, is this fun? Right. So am I having fun
Yeah.
while doing this?
Well, am I feeling good, like at my core?
Mm-hmm.
Is it giving me fuel? Because a lot of us, I mean, we use the word burnout a lot, but burnout's a
Mm.
real thing. And I often say that joy is fuel, but joy is also the infrastructure for how you see your world. For me, it's my chief operating officer, it's my COO, it's the operating system. It's the
I love
operating
that.
system for how I see life and then how I see work. And so what I do in my work is try to help leaders get to that place too. Because then everybody wins when you lead from that place.
I like that. Okay, so that's the coaching side, right? Now let's
That's the
talk
coaching.
about the part nobody escape, marketing,
Oh,
right? So how do people
marketing.
usually find you?
So they find me in multiple ways. So, but mostly social media and
Mm-hmm.
then referrals, word of
Mm.
mouth. It's so funny because we are in this world of, like, obviously we're talking about AI, and everybody's talking about this, like, AI is taking over the world and that kind of thing. But really, at the end of the day, we are becoming more connected as people
Mm.
because AI is taking care of a lot of different things, right? And so the
Mm-hmm.
reason why I'm bringing this up is because it comes back to your network. My mom
Mm.
always says it's not who you know, it's who knows you. And so
Wise
so
mom.
my mom is very wise. But every single I think about it, every single coaching client I've had to date has been either someone who has known me in my past life or a
Mm.
connection there. And then referrals. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So people who've been coached by me recommend me to somebody else, and then that's how it works.
Mm.
And from a marketing perspective, to answer your question, I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. Yeah, a
Yeah, I
lot
was.
of time there, and Facebook,
Uh-huh.
Instagram.
I mean, I know it's pretty fresh, the coaching world. And actually, you mentioned something that's very interesting is the AI. So, a lot of things are super fresh, right? So, what did you end up trying, as you figure out how to reach people? Yeah, I know you mentioned referrals, but have you tried some other ventures?
Oh gosh. So I've been putting myself out there again, social media, building my personal brand. Because before I started my business as a corporate executive, I was
Mm-hmm.
posting mostly about my team, the company, the things we've done, the things I'm proud of. And I've never really ventured into myself as a brand
Mm-hmm.
and like getting out there with my point of view, things that are important to me and how I see the world, how I see leadership and how that impacts my business and coaching and all that good stuff. So a lot of that's happening. But at the same time, I'm also putting myself in places where I can get past my close network
Mm.
and, going through networking events, conferences, things of that nature. I wrote a book. My book came out in September, it became a bestseller on the first day that it came out in several
Mm.
categories, hitting number one. Okay, Pedro,
Yay!
writing a book. Well, yay!
Nice.
That was never on my agenda, but I just trying to think about ways that I can get my voice out and help
Mm.
people in a way that was scalable. And so, working with, like a great editor and publishing team at AFCO Publishing really, really like has been able to accelerate the number of folks who have an opportunity to hear the message and start to think about leadership in a different way, which is really what I'm excited about.
I mean, that's awesome. I mean, the fact that I gotta point this is that you mentioned coaching as a tool, that it was not in your agenda. Now you're mentioning a book that was not in your agenda. Come on. What's happening, Cheryl? I
What's
mean,
up with my agenda, Pedro? I know. I
exactly.
know, I know. It's so weird too because when I made a decision just this year in January, that's when I kicked off my website ready and all that good stuff. I was thinking fractional work. I was not thinking about a book. I was not thinking about
Mm,
speaking. Coaching wasn't going to be a pillar. It was going to be something I offered on the side. So where I am now, almost a year later, it's a complete
yeah.
about face. And I'm still figuring things out and kind of just throwing things, out there and seeing what works. I mean, that's how you learn, right? Test and learn, see what
Right.
works, innovate, be creative, do things a little bit differently than other people are doing it, try things that some
Mm.
people might be a little nervous to do. I might be afraid or a little nervous myself and just do it anyway.
I mean, Cheryl, as much as you try to avoid it, it sounds like you're meant to be, the coaching side, the book, that's so cool in a way because sometimes it shows you this is the right path, right? As much as you're struggling
Yes.
with it, they're like, hey, come on, Cheryl, come
Yes,
here, write a
yes, yes,
book.
yep, exactly. It's like, who, me? You're like, yes, you're gonna write a book.
All right. That's so fun. I mean,
It is.
I want to change topics for a second, okay? You've been in business for a while, and I want to talk business, okay?
Okay.
People find you, they resonate with your work, and eventually
Hmm.
they want to know what working with you actually looks like. So everyone builds their coaching business a bit differently, obviously. So when someone actually becomes a client, what does that experience look like right now?
Oh, so interesting. I love that question because the way that I structure my coaching experience is just that it's an experience and it's different for every
Mm,
person. So I know that there are coaches out there. I mean, I was thinking about this when I first started and I was just like researching and trying to figure out how my business was going to work, where it's like, okay, I have these packages, like these signature packages, and you could package this and package that, and then, A, B, C, D. And, but what I quickly realized as I was having conversations, because as you can tell, Pedro, you and I talking, I love people and I love
mm-hmm,
people. I love engaging. I love connecting. And as I started connecting with each individual client, I realized that each client needs something different, right? So there might be
mm,
some things that are similar from client to client, but what we do is I work with them individually, figure out what it is that they're trying to accomplish. What does good look
mm-hmm,
like when we get to the end of our 6 months, 12 months, 3 months, whatever the case may be, however long that engagement is? What will make you feel good? What will make you know that this was worth your while and worth your investment, quite frankly?
mm,
And then I work backwards from there. Same way I worked in corporate, would figure out what was the end goal, what are we trying to accomplish? And then I would work backwards to ensure that individual is going to feel good by the time they get to the end of their time with me. And so
mm-hmm,
there's some structural parts that may be similar from client to client, but I also
mm-hmm,
like to make sure that when you and I get together and we sit down to have our session for that day, we always start with what's going on with you. What's
mm.
like top of mind for you right now, today, as we sit and talk. And sometimes that ends up taking up the whole session. And other times we're able to get to whatever it is that we're focused on as part of our program. So it depends.
Okay. It sounds like it's a pretty customized experience and you're pretty hands-on
It
too.
is.
So
Yes.
how do you think about capacity so don't stretch yourself too thin?
Oh yeah, I think about it all the time. And as now I'm working on, I have those kind of clients that I just mentioned to you, but now I'm getting ready to elevate and leverage my book. It starts with joy. There's a methodology to help individual move through the different phases of what I call the joy shift method. And so now I'm getting ready to do a podcast and elevating my speaking side of my business. And
Mm-hmm.
I am building, a curriculum and looking at an app. I mean, I'm just going through and just trying all different things because I know that at a certain point in time, I'm not going to be able to, I can only spread myself so
Mm-hmm.
much, right? Yeah. So I'm thinking about all the different things I can do to expand my business and still have an impact.
Okay. So one thing that every coach wrestles and struggles with at some point is pricing, and how to
I was gonna
package their
say, I
work.
knew you were gonna say that. I knew you were gonna say that. The P
Oh
word.
my God. Okay. Yeah. I mean, because how do you think about it today? Were there any lessons along the way that shaped how you landed there? Because to be candid with you, Cheryl, we see people that, hey, I'm doing one-on-ones, I'm charging an hourly rate. Hey, I'm doing program based, I'm doing group coaching, so this is really something that resonates with our audience. So I
Yeah.
would to hear from you how that felt for you, how to take a look at your self-worth in a way, because it's your
Oh
time
my
at the end of the day.
gosh. You know what's so funny? And I knew you were going to talk about this. I knew you were gonna ask when you said when you
Sorry.
started going down that road. I'm like, he's gonna ask me about price. I know. And what I find really interesting is that okay, I'm a newbie, really. Probably a good person to talk to about this, right? The funny
Mm-hmm.
thing is, I've got folks in my circle who've been doing this for 5 years, 9 years, 15 years, and everybody still struggles with price. Why is, I mean, and to me, it's an absolutely fascinating thing. I learned really fast from my very first client not to charge an hourly rate
Okay.
because, and I thought about it all wrong. I thought about it like, okay, it's going to be this many sessions, this long, and I'm going to charge this much an hour. But then I realized very quickly, ooh, no, that's wrong because you're doing a whole lot more before, during, and after that coaching session that you're not really, I wasn't anyway, I wasn't accounting for
Mm.
in, in my rate. And so what I
Mm-hmm.
do now is I try really hard, Pedro, and it hurts me and it's so uncomfortable, but I price at what I think I'm worth for that
Okay.
particular client. Is it a corporate client? Is it a client
Mm-hmm.
where, the sponsor their job is paying for it? Or is it someone who found me on LinkedIn and they're just trying to figure something out? I'll price differently for that. But no matter what I do, I always try to keep it at a price that makes me a little uncomfortable. Because
Mm-hmm.
if I'm feeling a little bit uncomfortable about asking for that price, then I know it's the right price. Does that make sense?
Makes sense. Okay.
It's a little bit comfortable. It's kind of like how we think about salary negotiations. They always say, ask for more what makes you comfortable.
That's interesting. The way you put it, the uncomfortable part, that's really interesting. I have never heard anyone saying like that, but the hourly
Hmm.
dilemma, I'll call it, yeah, yes, that's something we see
Hourly
people
dilemma.
struggling with. Well, let's call
Yeah,
it
I
a
learned that
dilemma.
really
Hmm.
fast. I learned that lesson super duper fast. And then the other thing too is that I don't know, you just have to really, for me anyway, I'll just talk for myself. I have to believe in
Mm.
myself and I know that I'm worth what I'm
Mm.
asking for. I'll give options to one particular
Mm-hmm.
client. I will say like it could be this, it could be this, it could be this, right? So you've got like
Mm-hmm.
three different, lanes you can go down. But I'm still making sure that in each one of those lanes, I'm still pricing it at what I feel is an appropriate
Mm-hmm.
level and investment for me and what I'm offering to
Yeah,
that client.
I love the fact that you customize a product and you also customize the price. Okay, so, but I'm curious about where you're taking all this. Looking ahead,
Hmm.
where do you see the business going? Are you thinking about scaling, hiring, or is that a next step you're excited about? You just launched a book,
Yeah.
coaching world still fresh. I want to understand where you're going with it.
Yeah. So what I'm really excited about, if I can write this story myself, the book and talks becomes a business and not a career. I was reading an article on LinkedIn the other day that talked about the difference between speaking as a career versus speaking as a business. So speaking as a career is just getting out there and talk, 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 talk.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking as a business it's an entrance, it's a funnel for coaching and, leadership development and all that kind of stuff that comes on the back end. And so if I could write it my way, I'm expanding the speaking side of my business. And then my wish is that, and my desire, and what I think is going to happen is that folks are going to want more from me. And then behind that talk is an offer for coaching
Mm-hmm.
and then leadership development for senior teams. I've already experienced that even when I was an executive on the corporate side, hired someone to come in and do a talk, and then they walk off that stage and it's like, but wait, how do we get more? Oh,
Mm.
well, I've got this coaching program, I've got this workshop, and that's what builds the business and not just the career. So for me, it's just like, it's a cycle of coaching, speaking, workshops, the book, all of that just kind of, it's just like a churn. That's the way I see it in my mind.
So it sounds like you're building that structure, the intention behind the speaking, not just the speaking for itself. It's like
Right. It's not
you're
just
trying
speaking
to,
to
to
speak.
create that machine, that well-oiled machine that will put intention towards an offer and then revenue. But of course,
Yep.
impact too. That's obviously
Yeah.
needed.
Because if it's not
Okay, so
impactful, then it's like a one-hit wonder, right?
exactly. So, of
Yeah.
course, whenever we're aiming toward the next chapter, there's always something we're refining in the present, obviously. Like you said, the machine, right? So, what are you currently trying to improve or tighten up in your business? Anything specific?
Everything, right? Because I'm only a year into this. So my
Mm-hmm.
systems and processes, those kind of things, I am hyper focused on, will be hyper focused on as I go into 2026. Because this year was just, I guess they say like it takes 2 years, like you're really you're a baby for 2 years in business, in a new business. And so I'm like halfway in. And so I am testing, learning, making mistakes, giving myself grace
Mm-hmm.
with that. But I recognize very much so that from a system
Mm-hmm.
perspective, there needs to be a lot of focus on that in this coming year so that I can come out of my second year really strong and ready to like hit the ground running and really start to make a difference so I can scale
Mm.
and do all those wonderful things that are going to support me going forward.
Okay, we're in building phase then. That's nice to know.
I'm in building phase.
Building phase. So
I'm
I
in
want to
building
switch
phase.
gears for a second and do something a bit more fun. Not that this was not fun. I just wanted to try something different here. If you're down for it, obviously, I've got a quick game
I'm
for you.
down,
So
Pedro. I'm down.
okay.
Okay. I
Yeah,
love
okay. I
games.
like. Okay, we'll look at this through the lens of business investments. Okay, things like coaching, training, marketing, team, masterminds, you name it. And especially
Hmm.
since you told me you're fresh, I want to see your point of view. Okay, because we have
Okay.
all of this noise. Hey, look at this offer. Look at this. Look at, and you're never.
Oh my
Sometimes
God.
we see people unsure of what's the next step, right? So it's
Hmm.
pretty simple. I'll give you 4 prompts, and you tell me the first thing that comes to mind. If there's a story behind it, even better. Can we do it?
Okay.
Okay.
Sure. I
So
hope.
what's the what was that?
I said, I hope.
Okay. What's the first business investment you remember making?
First business investment I remember making. I should really remember that. Oh, I remember it. You want me to share it with you what it was?
Of course. If you're
Oh, it was Super Connector with Jen
Oh,
Gottlieb and Chris. Jen and Chris.
okay.
Yep, that was the very first one.
Okay. What's the most
And
recent
and I'm
one you made? Sorry, what was that? Kind
Oh,
of.
most recent one is I'm really, really excited about it with Angelique Brewers and Bold House. And it
Mm,
is called Edge, the mastermind that is starting for me, it's starting in January. And it's a year
mm,
long mastermind. That is definitely the largest investment I've made, but I kind of tested the waters. I went to her conference, which is really like a funnel, November of last year. That's where I really made the decision that I wasn't going back to corporate. I was going to go full in, but I wasn't ready to join her mastermind yet. It was going to be my first year getting into business. I
mm-hmm,
promised myself I'm going to work my ass off and I'm going to be able to make that investment based upon the work that I did, in 2025. I'm going to go back to that conference, that funnel, and I'm going to sign up for whatever her offer is. And I did.
mm.
And so I'm starting that in January. She's a badass. She
Mm-hmm,
focuses on boutique firm owners, business to business, doing what you need to do to
mm,
get all your systems and processes in place. And also, getting in front of those decision makers on the B2B side. And so
mm.
I'm very excited for that work to begin.
Okay. Best financial business investment you made and why?
Best financial investment in business I've made so far. Gosh, you know what? This is going to seem like a cop out answer, but I'd have to say every single dollar that I've spent this year, even when in the moment or afterwards, I could look back and say, like, did I really get everything I wanted out of that
Mm,
investment? Even if I did not, there's something that I got out of every single step that I made. I just don't believe that there were any mistakes, even though in the moment, I'll give you an example. I hired a business coach.
mm-hmm,
And to protect the innocent, I won't say who. I hired a business coach and I learned quite quickly that I had made a mistake. Like we were not aligned. What this person thought was fine. I don't like that word fine. I call it the
mm-hmm,
F word. I don't like fine. We just weren't on the same page at
mm-hmm,
all. And I fired her. And it cost me money to get out of that agreement. Right. So I had to like
mm-hmm,
walk away from like money on the table. But when I think back, there were so many lessons I learned from that experience that if you asked me to go back and fix it, if you gave me an opportunity to fix it and go back and maybe not sign up with her, I would say no, because I know there were lessons I learned that were very valuable that, enabled me to do the things that I'm doing today, right now, today.
mm.
So,
So, okay. I think you do have, you can future tell because my next question was going to be what's the one investment you wish you could get your money back on? But you shifted that into your best, but you didn't see it as a mistake. You see it as a learning experience. So, oh my God, what are you doing
yes.
with my game here?
I know. I'm sorry. I told you I love games.
Okay.
But you know what, though, Pedro? If you had
Mm,
asked me that same question 6 months ago, I would have easily said, yeah, it was a big
mm-hmm,
mistake. And I'm like, it took me a minute to like get in the groove of understanding it as a business owner, as a founder. I
mm-hmm,
am going to do, and I'm going to invest in my own development and in my business. And there are going to be mistakes I'm going to make along the way. It's just how I see them. It'll make the difference as to whether or not I'm stuck there or if I move
mm,
forward. And I can't afford to get stuck. and I move forward.
Okay. So, how has your approach investing in the business changed over the years? I know in 6 months, we're talking about a change in 6 months, but have you seen any difference if you have a different lens now from what you've been through?
Oh yeah, because even though I'm like, oh yeah, I learned from that mistake and I wouldn't change it. That doesn't mean I want to go and make future mistakes like that, right? So yeah, so my lens, I'm not taking what you're saying at face value. I'm doing a much better job of vetting. So for example, I self-published my book. Like that was an amazing investment that I made, but I didn't take the very first, organization or company that I was looking at to help me get my book in hand. I talked to many and then I checked myself. And it was because I had that experience with that business coach that I fired that I became a whole lot more thoughtful and a lot more inquisitive and interested. And, the vetting was completely different. I started telling people that I would talk to, you know what? I fired my last coach. I fired my whomever. And then they look at me like, oh, well, sugar, then let me make sure that we have a real conversation because I don't want to be a few months down the road and then Cheryl's not happy. You know what I mean? So it gave me new language to go to
I
people
mean,
with.
fine and average are not going to cut it with Cheryl, right?
No, I had to deal with fine a lot in corporate, where it's just kind of like some other executive above me says, this is what we want you to do. And you have no idea what I do. You know what I'm saying? So in my own business, no one else is going to tell me what's fine. That was like,
Okay.
if I had
That,
hair, it would have been
yeah.
standing up on its end.
You're killing me. Okay. Since you went through that experience, and I like the fact that not that you fired her, I don't even know what we're talking about, but I like the fact that you didn't settle. Okay. I like that.
Yes.
And I want
Yeah.
to tap into your experience for a second because people
Okay.
listening can really benefit from this. You've been
Okay.
in the game, I wouldn't say long enough, but you hear all kinds of business advice. So in business, yes, more than 20 years. So yeah, you heard all business advice. So some that
Yes.
stick and some that really doesn't. So what's one piece of business advice you hear all the time that you think, oh my God, this is overrated or maybe misunderstood?
Oh boy, that's a hard question. A piece of business advice that is overrated?
Yeah, you see people like, oh, you
Mm.
should do X. And you're like, been there, done that. Not really.
Well, okay. For me, the first thing that comes to my mind is that collective, checking with every single person before you make a decision. And that means you're not really trusting yourself. And I don't know if it really fits because we were talking about, individuals, you're coaching, doing your own business, and you really do have to trust yourself. But I even learned that on the corporate side, that my instincts were really, really good. And folks who used to work with me would tell you that I was very collaborative in how we work together. You have to be willing to make a decision. And you also have to be able to do it. And you have to be kind of fearless about it in a lot of ways. So that whole like, being safe and tried and true. And I mean, there are lessons to be learned there, but the bread's been sliced already, right? I mean, there's no new things. But if you're not willing to like put yourself out there and try things that are different and trust yourself and be able to stand behind the decisions that you're making, you're probably going to get stuck because there's going to be somebody else out there who's going to have the same idea, but they're going to get ahead and do it. Like I think about Mel Robbins and her let them. She says herself in her book, she didn't create the let them theory, but she gave it wings. And there are other people out there being like, I could have done that. So that shoulda, coulda, woulda. I don't know if I'm answering your question, Pedro, but that's what came to
Did
mind.
you
But
did? I mean, I'm not putting words in your mouth, but in a way, it's to stand your ground and let it go a little bit. And the fact that let the control freak out of business. Let people shine, let people
yes,
grow. In a way, did I got that right? Something like that.
yeah, I'm all down for that. But it's also, I've come upon a lot of leaders who are working from a place of fear. Either they're instilling fear in others or they're afraid themselves. And you can't do business that way. You have to ask yourself, what would I do if I wasn't afraid? Well, if I wasn't afraid, I would do this. And it's like, well, then go do that because other people will follow you.
Okay. And on the other side, what's a piece of advice you wish more people actually took seriously? In a way, it's almost like an answer to the first one. It's like, don't be afraid. Trust the process. I don't
Yes.
know. I'm just trying to
And
understand here.
yeah, and also, I talk about the inner critic. We get in our own way a whole lot, right? So my inner critic, her name is Beatrice, and she's a big elephant. She wears a tutu and high tops, and she lives in my head. And that inner critic is there to protect you and keep you safe, but at the same time, and protection and safe also keeps you small. So it really is almost the same thing. It really it comes back to it's the same answer. You really do have to trust. You have to trust yourself. yourself and just don't listen to like the negativity and the buzz that's going on inside your head that's trying to keep you small.
I love that. Yeah, it's one answers the other. That's true. And Cheryl, if someone listening wants to connect with you or follow your work, where can people find you and connect with you?
Oh, well, they can find me easily on LinkedIn, Sheryl Whitaker. I'm there all day, every day, it feels like. You can also find me on my website, IanAnthonyEliteTalent.com, or you can email me, Cheryl.Whitaker@IanAnthonyElite.com.
Okay, nice. So there were a few
Yes.
things you shared today that really stuck with me. Okay, the first one is that
Okay.
you stepped out of corporate America to make sure your voice is heard. That is really impactful. That really struck a chord with me. Super interesting. And
Thank
you
you.
know, the book, the coaching as a tool, it's almost like you're meant to do this in a way. It's like a happy accident. That is so fun, you know, like
I love
destiny. It's
that.
like, hey, I just tapped on coaching. Woo, okay. I just tapped on it. Like, oh, okay. I mean, that's so cool, you know.
Oh, Pedro, you
And
just gave me a hook for a post about the happy accident.
okay, yeah, that's a happy
I'll be sure
accident.
to tag you because I love it. It is a
Okay.
happy accident.
I also liked, I have to respect the fact that you don't settle, you know, for fine or, oh, I'm just gonna give it a one more try, this contract, this coach, or this whatever tool you're using. It's like, this doesn't work for me. Let's stop now, you know, because I see a lot of coaches, sometimes they hire someone and they're fast at hiring, but slow at firing. And then that backfires, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
So, Cheryl, I appreciate what you do and I appreciate you being here and sharing
Thank
so openly
you.
today. It was great having you, okay?
Thanks. It was great being with you, Pedro. Thank you so much for those questions that made me really think and happy to help.
That's it for this episode of Career Coaching Secrets. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this episode to catch future episodes. This podcast was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, or even $100,000 weeks, all without burning out and making sure that you're making the impact and having the life that you want. To learn more about our community and how we can help you, visit joinpurplecircle.com.